concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in a secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in a secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the live stream. It is Monday night. JB rocking to the same theme. All these streams later just speaks to the quality of the tune. I do like it. I think it's a quality tune. Does my camera look better? This is my GoPro. This is the same GoPro shot I've always used. It is a good looking shot. I mean, what's up, Albuquerque? What's up, Albuquerque? Tonight's live stream is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, because that's what I'm drinking, not because they paid me. Mio. You can't expect to get it for free all the time, Mio. Mio didn't pay me. They didn't reach out to me. They don't want anything to say to me. Fine, I'll drink Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It's refreshing. It's got a little bit of a hoppy bite, but not too much. Don't be a hipster. If you take a drink of your beer and you go, it's good. It's very hoppy. It's very hoppy. Complex. That's not an enjoyable beer to drink. Who are you trying to prove something to? Stop trying to prove something to people with how bad your beer tastes. Drink Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It's just bad enough tasting that hipsters will respect you, but still enjoyable. Pale ale in the winter? Whatever. I got air conditioning, man. I got heating. I drink pale ale whenever I want, baby. Eric Toft says in the Pacific Northwest, your beer has to taste like grapefruit and ass. I could see it. The hops and grapefruit, I could see that. You shut up. I would drink a grapefruit, not like a grapefruit wine cooler, but I would drink a grapefruit IPA. That sounds good. That sounds good. It's porter weather, says synthetic. I don't know, man. I'm not a dark beer guy. I'm not a dark. I'm not that I would like spit in your face if you offered me one, but that wouldn't be my first choice. Do hipsters fly drones? Drone pilots are the hipsteriest of people. Drone pilots. What characteristics make hipsters? Like, you know, they did it before you. They did it better. Yeah, no. Drone pilots are super hipster. Grapefruit cider, I could see that. I've had a good grapefruit cider before. Shock Top Orange is nice. It's a nice beer. I am not drunk. Hello, darkness. I am just happy. This is exactly how much beer I've had tonight. So if that has got me drunk, man, whew. I'm a lightweight. Mr. Stella Artois. I'm not intoxicated. It's true. Oh, yeah, I didn't play Among Us last night, Ghost Branch, yesterday afternoon. I had to duck out. Sorry about that. If Ghost Branch isn't coming, I'm not coming. Welcome to the live stream, guys. This is my new live stream. We're not talking about FPV anymore. We're just talking about beer. That's not true. We're going to talk about FPV, and we're going to take your questions. I wonder what we could possibly have to talk about today. By the way, I should let you know, on the last live stream, I tried something new. My frickin' Stream Deck is being a bitch. Hold on. Stop. Reset. Reset the Stream Deck. Can I reset the Stream Deck from here? No. I don't know, power cycle the Stream Deck, whatever. All right, we'll go with it. On the last live stream, I set the stream to ultra low latency, and there was some dropouts. So we're back to normal latency, low latency rather. Here's what we're doing though. I am going to be taking your questions right here. I'm going to be taking your questions here in the chat. I am going to be paying lots of attention to these beautiful people up here in the upper right corner. This is my Discord server, and these are my patrons. Hello, patrons. How you guys doing? Nate Man's recently gotten to homebrew. Nice. That's a lot of work, but you get some good results. Exit the app in the task manager, then reopen Stream Deck. Is that going to work? Oh, Stream Deck does have an app. All right, let's quit Stream Deck. Uh-oh. Now my whole stream is going to die. All right, now I'm restarting the app. It's got this delay when I try and use the keys. Stream Deck, are you with me? Are you with me again? And right over here, this is where you can throw me a super chat. If you just hit that $sign right down here at the bottom, I'll get your question called out, and you get a super chat. I'll read it. I'll read your question. Nope, it's still doing it. What the F? Any minute now, we'll switch scenes. No, we're not switching scenes. Hello? Go. Oh, man. I've done it now. What if I unplug and replug the Stream Deck? Oh, come on, baby. What are you doing? There we go. Okay, plug it in. Okay, let's try that. I can't switch scenes the old-fashioned way by clicking a mouse. Who wants to do that? I don't want to do that. So let's start by talking about the thing that everybody wants to talk about. I know. You all, hello. I am not streaming without my Stream Deck. You guys. Oh man, now it's over. Oh wow. Control Delete. Task Manager. Stream Deck. Don't mess with me. Oh, Jesus. Stream Deck. End task. Are we ending the task? Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah, great. Now Stream Deck has not ended. It has just... Oh, there it went. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're gonna... Okay. Here we go. Boom. Unbelievable. All right. Let's move on. Stream Deck is having some problems. Let's get on with our lives. We're going to talk about the DJI V2 goggles. What do you guys think of the V2 goggles? I put out... so, first of all, what happened with the release? I've had the V2 goggles for a little while now, and they were not supposed to be released today. The embargo date was further out. And then suddenly DJI reached out and said, we're changing the date. My guess as to what happened is that they realized that they stopped making the V1, and nobody's been able to get the V1 for a while. And then there was a date for the V2, and then it got pushed back. And I think, long story short, they were like, oh, we're going to go way too long without a goggle for sale. And they didn't want that to happen, especially because, as you may know, Chinese New Year is coming up. And as a result, there's going to be this month-long drought. So my theory is that they rushed to release the V2 because whatever else they were scheduling around, they didn't want to wait for that. But as a result, when the V2 came out, I think a lot of people are a little underwhelmed. So let's talk about what's the killer feature of the V2, because in many ways the specs are the same, at least if you are an FPV pilot. The V1 has the same resolution screen. It has the same form factor, literally the same form factor. This is the V2. It is exactly like the V1. The same foam, same cover, same antennas. Basically identical. So the killer feature for the V2 is USB output of the screen to a phone. I don't know the exact way that'll work. Presumably it will be like the DJI Fly app. It does have a 144 hertz screen. The V1 had a 120 hertz screen, but the camera only does 120 hertz anyway. So my theory is that the original screen was also 144 hertz and they just didn't advertise it because it couldn't do it. The other thing about the screen is it's an 810p screen. It's 1440 by 810, which is it's interesting because the Air unit and the Vista only do 720p. So why is there this higher resolution screen? And this all goes back to, think about the things that leaked, guys. What got leaked? The goggles got leaked, a controller got leaked, and a drone got leaked. And that is not me breaking an NDA. That's all stuff from the FCC filings. That's public information. Well, today you got the goggle. Suffice it to say that there is more functionality in the goggle, because there's people out there saying the V2 goggle is basically just like the V1 with like a tiny bit of additional stuff, but it's not really a big deal. That's because it was a refresh, not really for FPV pilots, but for something else. So FPV pilots who waited for the V2 may be like, oh, what did I wait for? I mean, the USB out is nice. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like, oh, there's some of the things you would have hoped for, like a built-in analog receiver. It's not there. But the good news is the price is basically the same. It's pretty close to the same price. It's a little more expensive. So basically, if you're an FPV pilot, the V2 is more or less the same as the V1 with a couple other little things. Why did they drop the goggle first, 661 FPV? Because they didn't want there to be this big, long drought. Everything was supposed to drop a little earlier. Then there was a delay. And rather than make you wait for everything, they said, okay, we'll just release the goggle right now. It's really, I mean, it's really a good guy move, to be honest. They wanted to release the goggle as part of a big product launch, but when they realized it was going to be a long, if they hadn't cut off the V1, then they probably would have just waited. But since they cut off the V1 and no one could buy goggles, they were like, oh, let's release the V2. Bannister Post, it'll be USB output to a phone app. I'm hoping that they eventually do unlock the ability to have HDMI out. Who knows? Mr. Shady, USB to HDMI was what Day at the Range was supposed to have created. This is just USB to a phone app. What app do you need for USB output? Andrew Young, I would guess that it's just the DJI Fly app, but I don't know that for sure. Could they add USB out to the V1? Dave Hernandez asks. Yes, they certainly could, Dave Hernandez. We know that the V1 outputs the video stream over USB. That's how it works with the smart controller. And a hacker has built a Raspberry Pi that decodes that data stream and converts it to HDMI. So we know that the V1 goggle is 100% capable of outputting the data stream over USB. It's just a question of if DJI makes it possible for it to do. B-Man FPV says, when is it available for consumer purchase? You can pre-order it now. There are links on my video. You can pre-order it from your favorite store. They've all got product listings up now that DJI opened the floodgates. When it will actually ship, I am guessing, Big Herc Man in the Discord says, when will retailers get the V2? Remember that It's Blunty said on the news last week that dealers got a date of January 8th to order the V2 stuff. Now, when will it be delivered? I don't know this for a fact, but it seems to me like DJI's decision to release the V2 goggle early has to be driven by a desire to beat Chinese New Year. I don't know that for a fact. That's pure speculation. But if you look at the timing, it feels to me like they looked at Chinese New Year and went, oh my God, because you haven't been able to buy DJI goggles since like December. It would be like 3 months that nobody had DJI goggles for sale. And that's a big deal. So I would hope that their goal was to get product out before Chinese New Year. I don't know that, but if they weren't going to get it out before Chinese New Year, then why would they have bumped up the release date? That is my thinking. Mike Bergman, I also heard someone say that the minimum order for DJI was 100K. That DJI had a very high minimum order and only the larger retailers would be able to meet the MOQ. I don't know if that's true or not. I have heard someone say that. So look, before I got the goggles, I said, I want you guys to remember this too. Before I got the goggles, I said, once you know that a V2 product exists, you probably should wait and not buy the V1 because you don't know. And the chances are that the price on the V1 will go down once the V2, I mean, there'll be used V1s as people upgrade. Now that you've seen what the V2 has, if your reaction is, oh, I kind of wish I hadn't waited, I'd just like you to remember that I stuck to my word. And once I had information under the NDA, I didn't release any of it because once I actually saw the goggles, I was like, this is kind of cool. But I knew that a lot of people probably would just prefer to buy the V1. But I just want you to know, I stuck by my word and kept giving the same advice, which was the only ethical thing to do. Because it's still the right advice. Once you know that a V2 product exists, you probably should wait and see what it is. Probably the V1 will be cheaper. Eddie Nunes, does the V2 have geofencing, fly database, remote ID? No, none of that. None of that. It has none of that. And that's, people were saying, I think the V2 has 2.4 gigahertz so that they can do geofencing and remote ID. And I just wanted to say, no, that's the dumbest, that's dumb. Now, Eddie, I'm sorry, I'm not calling you dumb, Eddie. First of all, remote ID didn't even exist when these started to be designed. The NPRM was out, but as you can see, the final rule is very different from the NPRM. So how would DJI have put remote ID into this since the rule wasn't even out until December 29th? Number two, manufacturers don't have to comply with remote ID until like 2022 or maybe 2023, right? So why would they put remote ID in a product that they don't need compliance for 2 more years? And number three, the goggles don't, it's the drone that has to do the remote ID nonsense anyway. Why would the goggles have remote ID in them? No, there's no geofencing. There's none of that. And there's no new air unit or Vista. It's the exact same air unit or Vista, and that's the part that goes in the quadcopter, and they don't have GPS. So no. For everybody out there who was like, this is it, this is where they stick us with remote ID, you were wrong. Your suspicions were unfounded. Please sit down and think about that and try to, I don't blame you for being wrong, but once you are wrong, you have an ethical obligation, an intellectual obligation to yourself to think about what the fact that you were wrong means and use that information to be better in the future, right? There's no shame in being wrong once, but if you're wrong 5 times in a row in the exact same way, then maybe you'll be a little ashamed. So, yeah, DJI didn't do that. And I only say that because people are constantly, oh, this is it. This is where DJI screws us. And they haven't done it yet. And that doesn't mean they're not going to do it, but they haven't done it yet. And there's a whole lot of people ever since DJI came on the scene who keep saying, that's it, they're going to screw us. And they just keep developing better and better products and not screwing us and sticking up for us on the DAC, on the FAA Drone Advisory Committee. At some point, maybe you just have to acknowledge that they are a good actor. DJI is who I'm talking about. There you go. Alrighty. Do you know if DJI is making a cheaper goggle? There is no evidence to that effect, Jolly Monster FPV. Why would they do that? John Solo wants to know, can you turn off the 2.4 gigahertz on the V2 goggles if you're not using it? Could it interfere with 2.4 gig control links? John Solo, we know that the FCC testing documents indicate that the goggles use the 2.4 gigahertz band for something. I can tell you that the original Air Unit and Vista do not have any 2.4 gig capability at all. So if you're an FPV pilot flying with the Air Unit or the Vista, there won't be any 2.4 gig stuff. I can't guarantee that there was no emissions whatsoever. But basically you're not using it if you're an FPV pilot. Audio feedback, Leonardo Almeida. The goggle has no capability to do live audio during flight. The Air Unit and the Vista don't have microphones in them, so there's just no way they could do that. A few people are asking about the release date for what else is there? The other things that the goggle is meant to release with, which if you look at the leaks in the FCC documents, you can get a good guess as to what they are. That stuff is all stuff for which I'm under NDA and can't really talk about. So, alrighty. No onboard audio. Sorry, guys. Jair Lyons, no new air units on the way. No, that's not. If I knew that there was an air unit on the way and I was under NDA, then I would be more coy about it. There is no FCC documents. There's no talk. There is no indication of a new air unit or Vista on the way. The whole reason that they made these goggles, in my opinion, is because of this other thing that's coming. And that's just it. All right, Eric Stephanie, thank you. That's enough. Eric Stephanie, now you're just spamming. That's enough. Oh, let's see. Josh Feltz. I'm sorry, Josh Feltz. You are correct. I misspoke. There is a microphone on the air unit. Sorry about that, man. I got carried away. But the microphone on the air unit is only used for the DVR. I don't know whether there's a technical reason why they couldn't transmit that back to the goggles, but they don't do that. You're correct. You guys are correct. I misspoke. In about 45 seconds, the chat will catch up with you. I'll catch up with the chat, and you'll hear me taking that back. The new goggle is backward compatible with old air units, B-Man FPV. Absolutely. Am I sponsored by DJI Gonebush at 4x4? DJI did send me this goggle to review. I do not have a sponsorship agreement where they pay me to make videos about their product. You know, like Rotor Riot makes episodes sponsored by DJI. I don't really do that on my channel. You know who I'm sponsored by? My patrons. Hello, patrons. And you guys hit my affiliate links. Have I used the Source 1 V4 frame? It's Schooly. I have not, but I ordered one yesterday. So, the current air unit is compatible with the new goggles, Richard. People keep waiting for DJI to do something to screw them over, and they still keep not doing it. Twin Turbo Stang. Race Day Quad says the antennas are dual band. Is that true? I mean, Twin Turbo Stang, I haven't put the antennas on an antenna tester, but the idea of a dual band 2.4, 5.8 antenna is like completely normal. 5.8 is not quite, but close to 2 times the wavelength of 2.4. And so it's relatively easy to make a wideband antenna that works for both of them. It is not quite as good an antenna as if it was tuned specifically to one band, but it's totally like Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi routers have done this forever, have had multi-band antennas, so it's totally plausible. Is it worth getting the Goggles V2, Matthew Stanton? Well, if you don't have any DJI goggles and you want them, probably the V2 are the one you're going to get, because nobody has the V1 anymore. If you want to buy a used V1, though, just about the only thing you're giving up from an FPV perspective is the USB out, which is nice, but yeah. But maybe not worth whatever discount you get. Can you do a spectator mode with a V1 while piloting with a V2? Brian K., I haven't tested that, but I believe the answer is yes. The DJI V2 goggles, the FPV functionality is exactly the same as it always has been. And then there is some additional functionality for a new product that isn't out yet and that I can't talk about. But the FPV functionality is the same. Why did they put OLED displays on the V2? Ivan Miguel Parenza. Yeah, man, I desperately want them to release a goggle with OLED displays. I don't care if it's $100 more expensive. I would love it. I mean, I say that from the perspective of someone who will be able to justify buying them as a business expense. I mean, I don't know if they would like poach sales or sell well, but I do. Every time I go to my orcas or my fat sharks, the OLED displays look so good. Or my Skyzone Sky 04. And the DJI looks better, but only in terms of resolution and image quality, not in terms of brightness and darkness and saturation. So yeah, DJI, please give me an OLED goggle. I mean, I don't think they're going to, but Led Sled 01 says you get them for free. Oh, really? Do I get them for free? Do I get them for free? Oh, yeah, you're right, because my time isn't worth anything. Ha ha! I don't get any product for free. If you guys think, sorry, Led Sled, this is a soapbox of mine. I promise I'll only spend like 1 minute bitching about it. Whenever somebody says you get product for free, you're valuing their time at 0. You get product. If I get product for free, that means you send me product and then I don't do a video about it. Well, actually, I do. I actually do that sometimes. Sorry, manufacturers who have sent me product that I just didn't think I wanted to review and then I didn't review it. That product I got for free. Sort of. But no, you don't get product for free. You get product and then you make videos about it. Yeah. If you don't pay for it, it's free. Only if you value your time at zero. Listen, hey, you want a free lunch? Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Drone Racer. You want a free pizza? Yeah, I'd like a free pizza. Okay, well, mow my lawn and I'll give you a free pizza. That's not a free pizza. You're making me work for it. Oh, I see. I guess things that you work for aren't free. You work for them. Okay, moving on. I said I'd only spend 1 minute bitching about that. What the F? Is my feed locking up? I'm going to reload my screen. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, it is great not having to spend $600 on goggles. It is great not having to spend $600 on goggles. Don't get me wrong. But it definitely worked for it. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. We got a lot of super chats here. Let me get some super chats. No OneDrive. Sorry, guys. No OneDrive. My feed was locked up, my preview of the feed, but it seems it's looking okay. Mike Bemilier, thank you for a $5 super chat. Has Tommy said when he's going to release his sub 255-inch frame? He has not, but I will ping him right now and ask him, and I will tell you. Hang on 1 second. I'm pinging Tommy right now. All right, Mike, I have just asked Tommy, and I will get back when the answer comes back. Blake Ward, thanks for a $3 super chat. Shadow FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Thank you for all the effort you put into this community. I was able to get started in this hobby because of you. Thank you, man. That means a lot. That really is why I do it. It really was. Messages like that. 907 FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Put TBS tracer on the Goggles V2 and failsafe about 150 feet out. Low RSSI 70% and 1/100 LQ before flying. Can't figure out my problem. 907 FPV, listen up, man. Tracer always says RF mode 1. Crossfire has RF mode 1 and RF mode 2. Tracer only has RF mode 1 because it doesn't change. It's always in the fastest possible RF mode. So RF mode 1/100 is normal. And RSSI 70% could also be normal because the RSSI doesn't work like most people think it does. And that's why I suggest that you pay the most attention to LQ. But if you're fail-safing 150 feet out, something is wrong. You should definitely check your output power. I'm not sure what else to suggest. I can tell you 907 FPV, though, don't worry about the 1/100. Okay. Lucas B, thanks for a $5 super chat. Thanks for all the educational content. Crashing into your yard in liftoff, waiting for my Squirt V2 to get here. Ron Grant, thanks for $5. I think the V2 is an unlocked V1. Ron Grant, I don't think that's true. For example, Ron, the input voltage is up to 26 volts or 25 volts on the V2. The input voltage is only 17.6 volts on the V1. That suggests that at the very least they changed out the voltage regulator. So there is at least one hardware change. But they are very, very similar in their hardware, I will say. Oh, the other thing, Ron, the V1 did not have a 2.4 gigahertz radio in it. The V2 does. So there are some differences. DYQY wants to know if DJI moved the date forward to catch the stimulus checks. I don't know about that, man, but that would be pretty freaking hilarious. Tommy Brickler says, will we be able to have LQ with DJI anytime soon? You can do it right now. I have a video about it. Tommy Brickler, here you go, buddy. Now, it may not be what you were actually hoping for, but it will get the job done. Andy RC says, the V1 will take a 6S, but don't try it. Yeah, exactly, Andy. People have said, oh, the V1, you can use a 6S with the V1. I'm like, listen, if the manufacturer says 17.6 volts, I'm not putting a 6S on it, even if in theory you can get away with it. If it does fry, then you're boned. Eddie Nunes has been doing it since he first got them. I don't know. I'm not willing to risk frying my goggles just to do that. N3 Frayne wants to know, can I display the Crossfire RF mode on my DJI goggles? You cannot. Only TBS Unify Evo, if you're using the Evo OSD, they can do it. And Brain FPV Radix can do it. But Betaflight can't and DJI cannot. Big Data Pimp says, stimulus checks. Speaking of getting nothing for free. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, they're just giving us our own tax money back to us. So, you know. Whee! It's macroeconomics is not my area of specialty. But, yeah. So I'll just won't say anything. Reviewers are given products free of charge if there is no contract, Drone Racer. Drone Racer, I just disagree with you there, man, but I'm not going to argue with you about it anymore. I do get products, and I assure you, if I received products and I did not review them, if I made a habit of that, then I would stop getting products. There is always an expectation of a quid pro quo. That doesn't mean I review every product that I get. In fact, I often get asked about products and say, yeah, it looks interesting. I would take a look at it. They send me the product. I look at it. I go, yeah, I got other things I'm more interested in. And I don't review it. If I consistently do that, they will stop sending me products. Because at the end of the day, they want something in exchange for what. That's the thing. They're not sending them to me because it's a gift. They want something in exchange for sending me the product. And that is the value that I provide. And that costs time and work. That's a fact. It's not a gray area. Let me ask you this, man. Does the Federal Trade Commission expect me to disclose that I got the product for free? Oh, what? Shit, I said for free. If no strings are attached, then it's free. But if you work to get the product, then it's not free. Moving on. Brendan D, thank you for a $5 super chat. Are race wires okay for motor extensions? Yep, they're fine. Any personal experience with them? Yes, they're fine. I don't see any videos on them. They're fine. I worry that they're weak. They're not. They're not weak. They're fine. They don't have excessive loss or anything like that. I don't use them on every build because most of the time the motor wires are long enough, but if I need to replace a motor or something like that, I might choose to use race wire. I think people moved away from race wires. There was a trend to use them, but then people kind of moved away from them, but there's nothing wrong with them. Gavin H, thanks for $5. I love you too. Ivan Efimov, thanks for $5. What else in the NDA can't you tell us? Well, there's so much that I can't tell you. Hercules, I'll tell you what. I'm looking at something under NDA right now. Ooh. Hercules Notice, thanks for $5. I feel responsible for breaking your stream deck. Nah, you didn't do it, dude. It was effed up before I did that. Don't worry about it. Kimmy Yimmel, thank you for a $2 super chat. I smoked my top skies yesterday with a 3S accidentally. Oops. See? Yeah. Always use the safe voltage. Johnny DRC, thanks for a $10 super chat. Bless me, FPV God, that I don't smoke a quad this week. Dominus Sancti, you will not smoke a quad this week. Thanks for everything. You've helped me out with all the advice you give us. Thank you. Casual Flying says to look at my glasses. Why? What's wrong? Is it that you can see the lights? Yeah. I don't know what to do about that. I mean, I have to have lights, and I have to have glasses. So what should I do? There's no way around that, really, is there? Ah! My TX16S won't charge through USB, says Matthew Stanton. Should I return it? No. Matthew Stanton, look, here's what I think you're doing wrong, dude. Hang on. There we go. Matthew, there's a USB port at the top. That one is used for joystick and SD card. There's a USB port at the bottom. It's under here. That's the one that you use for charging. I think you're using the wrong USB port. It's not broken. And by the way, can I tell you? Once upon a time, I just spaced and I forgot that. And I plugged it in and I was like, why isn't it charging? This freaking thing is messed up. And it wasn't after I first got it either. And then I remembered. Oh, no, to see the NDA stuff. I see. You're trying to look in the reflection of my glasses to see the NDA stuff. That would be quite an accomplishment. But, when did I first get into drones? Shane Otney. About 5 or 6 years ago. I got into RC aircraft and then built a multi-rotor about a year later. What do you think of the Diatone Roma F5, asks Josh Milhinch. The Diatone Roma F5 is pretty impressive. The only thing about it that I think the iFlight clearly wins is the VTX. The Roma F5 has a 400 milliwatt VTX, whereas the iFlight has an 800 milliwatt VTX. Some people have suggested that the arms on the Roma are a little bit weak compared to the iFlight. I'm not sure. The arms are just a little thinner where they join up, but I'm not sure if that's just one person with bad luck. Any special SD cards for the DJI goggles? No, just normal SD cards. Any recommendations for people who need to wear glasses with the DJI goggles, asks Brian K. Well, Brian, if you have smaller glasses, like I do, you just put the glasses inside the goggles. It's no big deal. You can also... Come on! Oh, it's working! Why does my mic say unmute then? What are you doing? Oh, it's still effed up. It's still not happy. RHO Lens makes a lens called the Solace, and it is designed for the DJI goggles. So if your glasses don't fit inside, then you can go with something like this. I should probably get myself a set of these. There you go. You can see how they fit in there. Because having my glasses on the inside is a little bit of a hassle sometimes. Okay, well, some of it's working. How do you feel about 4:3 versus 16:9 aspect ratio for FPV goggles? Chris Smith, I prefer to fly in 4:3 cameras, so I prefer 4:3 goggles. The reason for that is that I think that it's better to have a bigger vertical field of view when you're flying so that you can pitch forward and back. I don't think there's an advantage to having a big wide field of view. That's just my perspective. I prefer 4:3. Andy RC says DJI sells their own diopters also, but Andy, they're not custom cut, are they? Betaflight won't work on my Chromebook, says Eric Stephanie. Eric, I don't know if the Chromebook version of Betaflight Configurator is still being updated. What version of it is it? Would you find something under NDA in my image? I don't think so. No. Emmanuel Kano, I don't know when the Attitude V6 will be in stores. Betaflight doesn't work on my Windows Surface, says Thing E. Thigitney. I don't know how you say your name. I don't know why it wouldn't work on a Surface. Space Cowboy points out you can install Linux on a Chromebook and then install Betaflight on that. That would be a way to go. Oh, but Cutback 420 says no, you can't. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Do you know of any other 4-inch hexacopters coming out soon? Asks Joe Minty. I do not know of any of those. Any recommendations for long-range quads that can carry full-size GoPro and give decent flight times? Sachin Chowdhury. Sachin, I would be looking at some of the 7-inch quads, like the Gep RC Crocodile 7. iFlight has a 7-inch quad. Those bigger 7-inch quads are designed to carry weight and give long flight times. Let's see here. People are talking about, somebody asked, am I allowed to talk to other NDA pilots under my NDA? I don't know I'd have to go look at the exact wording. In general, if, like, for example, I know for a fact that there are other Rotor Riot pilots are also under NDA, so I have no problem talking to them. And we're all kind of from the same company, so I would definitely hesitate to talk to somebody that I wasn't 100% sure already had it. And it's definitely possible that the wording of the contract prevents me from talking to anybody else, but I wouldn't take any chances. I wouldn't want to take any chances. Any plans for a custom freestyle build like you did a year ago? Yes. I would like to update that. I thought I was going to do it in December, but December got away from me. Currently, the next step is I'm working on a lightweight frame roundup, and I'm going to pick a frame, and then the next thing I got to do is think about the motors, because my 2208 and 2407 motors are not being made anymore. So if you want those and you can find them, snatch them up. But I wouldn't feel good about putting my motors on the perfect freestyle build if you weren't able to get them and use them. So I got to think about what motors I want to put in there, which is going to be tough because I had assumed it was going to be those motors and hadn't really thought about it. Ben T, thanks for a $10 super chat. I ordered the DJI goggle lenses for my prescription from RHO, but they aren't usable because they don't let my eyes converge the two images. Have you had those issues? Ben T, I have not used the RHO lenses in the DJI goggles, so I can't say. I just wear my glasses. I would reach out to RHO about that because they certainly know better than anybody. I should try Kebab's motors. Maybe so. Maybe so. His stuff is also always out of stock. I would like to pick stuff that is in stock sometimes. Kebab's stuff is constantly out of stock. It's tough. He has good stuff. What happens if you break the NDA, asks Ron Grant. Ron, every NDA has terms for if you break it. And usually it says things like that you will be liable for damages. So, like, if you have an Apple NDA, like a big company with a, you've got the new iPhone 27 and you leak it to a media, like they could potentially like sue you for the millions or billions of dollars that they lost because you leaked it. In theory, the NDA could be written that way. A contract that doesn't have terms for what happens if you break it is not a good contract. The exact terms depend. Realistically, if you break an NDA, you're not going to get to do business with that company anymore. Because they're just going to be like, F you, no, we're not sending you stuff. The chances of them actually suing you for damages are probably small, unless we're talking about like a big company like an Apple where there's like billions of dollars on the line. O-Town Dom, I have to say, I am looking hard at the Emax Eco 2 motors. They are not flashy, impressive motors, but they are very good motors for the price, and they definitely appeal to me. Macon to Bacon asks, do you sign contracts? I mean, if I didn't sign contracts, I wouldn't be in business. Yeah, of course. Of course you sign contracts. Why do the companies risk it, Paul Walden? Well, why? I mean, go back to the idea that I get stuff for free. It is in DJI's best interest that that reviewers and influencers get early access to the product. The simplest math here is that DJI wants a whole lot of review videos about the product on the day that it releases. And the only way to do that is to give people the product early and let them make the video so that then they can drop it on the same day. In addition, many vendors want feedback about their product. Now, this is less true for DJI because not that DJI doesn't listen to feedback, but by the time I see a DJI product, it has already been through their engineering ringer, and they probably, I'm not going to think of something that they didn't already think of. But for smaller companies, a lot of times when you get a new product, like a Gep RC or a Flywoo, when you get a new product that isn't out yet, they would like you to give them feedback on it, and maybe they'll implement that feedback. There's not usually like an explicit NDA with like a Gep RC or a Flywoo, though. T-Motor Velox 2306 were $13, now $8. Wow. That's hard to argue that an $8 motor. I mean, T-Motor Velox is a solid motor, and if it's been marked down to $8, that's really freaking cheap. Excuse me. Jeremy Freeze, thank you for a $5 super chat. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, Jeremy. Excuse me. What kind of good VTX can turn my iFlight Nazgul into a long-range quad? Massimo Caramel. Massimo, you should be able to go 5 kilometers on the VTX that's in that quad. It's an 800 milliwatt VTX. You should be able to go easily 2 kilometers without even thinking about it, and maybe as much as 5 kilometers. I would start by maximizing the range of the VTX that's already in that quad to teach yourself about how long range works. Because long range flying is about way more than just, I am going to put the highest powered VTX on here and then I'm going to fly to the moon. Long range is about a lot more than that. So yeah, I would leave the VTX on there. 800 milliwatts is more than enough. And figure out how to get the most possible range out of that. Has DJI mentioned if there will be a change in max range with the V2 goggles? Pace and Kelsey, if you are using the Air unit or the Vista, then I don't think there's any change in performance. 1200 milliwatts is 1200 milliwatts. Eduk suggests that you swap out the video transmitter antenna on the Nazgul with a high quality one. That is definitely a good place to start. Why can't we have OcuSync in FPV? Eddie Nunes. Eddie, I think the OcuSync that you're thinking of that is used with like the Mavics is too high latency. What about the newbie drone $100 8-pack? Asks Stevo43068. Let's see. You're talking about this. This is the newbie drone Flow 2306.5 motor. Crazy deal! 8 motors for $100. Here, let's toss a freaking affiliate link in here for all you crazy people who want to throw a couple bucks at newbie drone. This is, I mean, anytime you're buying a half decent motor for $12 a motor, that's a good deal, right? That's a good deal. I have had these motors on one of my 5-inch quads and have crashed my way through 7 of them. So I have to say I did beat the hell out of them. Don't get me wrong. But I don't have the impression that they are like the most durable motor on the market. I don't know why. Maybe I just got unlucky and I took them on a particularly hard day. They are good motors though. At a price of $12, I mean, you can see I made a video about it. At a price of $12, I would definitely consider them. And since you can get replacement bells separately, you can replace the bell for $10. Wow, $12 for the motor, $10 for the bell. You should just buy new motors. Yeah, just buy new motors. Don't buy the bells for $10. I felt it's always hard to know whether it's just a gut feeling or whether you just, like, I took them to Atlanta and I flew them in Atlanta and I was bashing them off of concrete. So then they broke. But my gut feeling was that they weren't as durable as some other motors. I don't know. But for $12, it's a good deal. Woof. Russ B, I would not run a 4-inch quad on a 15 amp ESC. Never mind a 15 amp all-in-one. Never mind a FetTech 15 amp all-in-one. Say what you will about KISS and FetTech. Everyone says their ESCs are smooth. No one says their ESCs are durable. So I would probably not run a 4-inch 3000 kV quad on FetTech 15 amp all-in-one. Ciati says that the flows crash better than other $12 motors for him. Yep. Abraham says 15 amps will be fine for 2004s. If you say so. If you say so. I'm suspicious. Just because it's FetTech, and I don't know. I could be wrong. What do you think, Ciati? Ciati, would you run 3000 kV 4S or 4-inch props on a FetTech 15 amp all-in-one? I don't know. What do you think about the iFlight Beast 55 amp ESC? It's incredibly impressive, but I still don't think it's as durable as a separate 4-in-1. Steadfast RC, thank you for a $5 super chat. Let's get a couple more super chats out of the way. Thanks for all you do, JB. I make some FPV vids as well as planes, boats, and all types of RC ground vehicles if anybody's into different types of RC. Thank you, Steadfast RC. Ciati says it'll be fine. Maybe. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think you're on the edge there, dude. I think nominally 15 amps should cut it, but I think practically I would worry about smoking the ESC, especially because it's an all-in-one. Ben T, we got you, Ben. Jeremy, we got you. Mike Bemulier, thank you for a $2 super chat. Make your next freestyle build sub 250. Blake Ward, thanks for $2. Job F7 stack. 0 current readout on the OSD. Can you help? What's a Job F7? JBF7. My best guess is that you have the wrong setting in the power and battery tab for the source. But the default flash should be set up correctly for that. Blake Ward, you should email me so we can discuss it privately. Brian Vatiat, thank you for a $20 super chat. Thanks, JB, for all your content. I recently bought a shocker frame, mounted the DJI Air unit in the front, and a flight controller ESC in the back. Ran the antennas on the front arms, getting great range and flight performance. So you got a whole air unit in the shocker. That's actually pretty impressive. Let's do it now. Thanks for a $5 super chat. You are amazing and an inspiration to all. I'm learning a lot because of you. I'm trying to get my first drone. First time on your live chat. Thank you for the contribution. Let's do it now. Oh, RC and Power Smooks. That's a good motor. RC and Power Smooks. Maybe I should use RC and Power motors. Those are good motors. Ooh. What do you think about RC and Power Smooks motors for my perfect freestyle build? Ah. 2306.5 in size. Part of the reason that I steered away from my motors, well, the first reason is that my motors are they're just going out of production. But the second reason is that I've been so focused on getting the weight of my next perfect freestyle build a little lower. Like not 600 grams lower, but not 800 grams. And I just am not sure that in this day and age, there's a compelling case on a 5-inch for a 2208 motor. Especially, like, the whole point of the larger motors was that you get more torque, so you get better prop wash handling. That's one of the arguments. But today we have RPM filtering and so forth. We can get very, very good prop wash handling even on the smaller motors. I don't know about Ciati. I don't know about 2306 versus 2207. 29 gram F40 Pro 4s are nice. Dale March says my DJI Air unit stops transmitting every time I bump anything. Is that normal? No, that's not normal. If the connections are okay, then check the voltage regulator. Maybe the regulator is bad. If you're running 4S or lower, Dale, you can power the air unit off of VBAT, and then you don't need to worry about the regulator, and that would help you figure out whether that was your problem. What props are you going to run on your freestyle build? Ask Gonbush 4x4. My JB GemFan prop. I have a sponsored prop with GemFan. It is the JB51477. That's still my favorite prop. Huh. Interesting. Huh. Huh. Okay. Thank you, Victor Klobuchnik. Thank you for €5. Should I buy the DJI Goggles V2 separately, or should I wait for the new coming product? Victor, I can't tell you what the new product is, so I can't tell you whether you should wait. If you're not sure, I mean, if you think about it, it'll be a little cheaper in a combo. That's a decision I can't help you make, I'm afraid. Mike B. Miller, thank you for $2. It's B. Miller. Mike B. Miller. Okay, I'll try to remember that, Mike. Tony Backwards, thanks for $5. Super chat. And light, I can smell and taste the beer. No coronavirus here, my friend. No coronavirus here. Has anybody else done a naked air unit? Shaved 17 grams and it works great so far. Mad props in the Discord. People have done a naked Vista and it has worked pretty well. I don't see why you couldn't do a naked air unit. They will reduce power when they overheat, so you may get reduced range. But let's see here. Stu Pedasso says, no one in the FPV industry is going to like the new product the DJI is offering. You crash that thing, game over. Stu Pedasso. I have no comment on that product. I'm just saying, people who haven't seen the product making decisions about what it is, I feel like there is a tendency to look at one picture of something and think you know everything you need to know about what it is. Isn't it Mark Twain who's quoted as saying that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll seem like a pretty poor example? You have to judge things by what they are and what they're meant to be. If you took a DJI Mavic and you said, that thing sucks, you crash that thing one time and it's going down. Like, yeah, of course, that's not what a Mavic is designed for. But a Mavic is amazing at what it's designed to be. So before you can judge a product, you have to decide what it is meant to be and then decide whether it's good at being that thing. If you look at those leaked pictures and you go, that is a terrible freestyle drone. Well, maybe you're right, but maybe it's not meant to be a freestyle drone. Let's see here. Hectectica, thank you for a $5 super chat. Thanks for all your detailed tutorials. Without them, I'd be pretty darn lost. What's your opinions on the HDLRC Sector 5 V3 frame? Let's take a look. What's going on back here? Oh, that must be the GPS. That's clever. That's clever. Well, it looks okay. I usually don't like things that stick up above the top plate like this, because when the battery slides off in a crash, it'll damage it. It does look like that's attached pretty well. I don't hate it. How's the bottom plate? Oof. Well, how's that work? People who own one. That's not a lot of carbon there. I understand they want it to be a 2-screw arm change, but that looks like a real weak spot to me. Like, I feel like that. Well, you got 2 screws. Okay. You got 2 screws holding it in. That's going to make the difference. If it was 1 screw, I'd have a real problem with that. Yeah, maybe. How does 19 grams help you? Simon Saucy says. You surely can't feel that. I disagree, man. 20 grams? I mean, especially because you're going to save 20 grams here and 10 grams there, but I definitely feel like 20 grams is worth saving if you can. I feel like this is seeming like the weak spot to me in this design. I'd have to tell before, because you got these 2 screws. Maybe it'll help keep it from being enough pressure that it'll break, but I'm not thrilled with this arm design. Ask somebody who designs frames what they think. I like that the arms have these little breakouts here to help protect the motors. The top plate is unremarkable. What's it weigh? $124 grams, not with excluding TPU. That's respectable. What's the price? Yeah. So I mean, $55. It doesn't. I think there may be better designs out there for a similar price. Just because like that arm, I'm not loving. I'm not loving that. But I'm not sure I would like steer you away from it, and I could be wrong about the arm. Tony Backwards, thanks for a $5 super chat. Here's another donation. I just got an XM Plus receiver and I can't bind to the new version of the Taranis QX7. I flashed it and it still won't bind. Tony, you need to have firmware version 2.1 on the XM Plus and the QX7. The XM Pluses recently started shipping with firmware 2.1, and so a whole lot of people got them and then they found they couldn't bind. I'm going to guess you didn't put firmware 2.1 on the QX7. And remember that we're talking about the RF module firmware, not the OpenTX firmware, which is separate. I just flew with a GoPro on my 5-inch for the first time, says Jan Booth. I hate the extra weight. Any pin tuning suggestions for the extra weight? Jan, in general, a higher quad will need higher P gain to accelerate it, and maybe higher feed forward to accelerate it harder, but none of that will change the throttle feel. The throttle is what it is because of the weight, and a heavier quad is going to feel heavier. You could push the P gain and the feed forward a little higher to get it a little snappier in the flips and rolls. Boots the Monkey wants to know. Boots the Monkey in the Discord. Thank you for this. Thank you for being a patron, Boots. Would you ever consider doing a build video on one of those new X8 Cine camera carrying quads that are becoming popular these days? I mean, I'm not opposed to it, Boots, but I don't have a scene camera and I don't do a lot of scene stuff. So I'm not sure. Cutback 420 says, wouldn't that be rates? Yes, but no, Cutback 420. So rates control the targeted angular rate. Here's an example. Let's say you have a little light quad and you have 900 degrees per second angular rate. So you push the stick all the way to the right. The quad accelerates until it's going 900 degrees per second, and then it stays there. Okay? Now let's say you've got a big, heavy quad, and it is also set to 900 degrees per second as its angular rate. Okay? You push the stick all the way to the right. The quad accelerates till it hits 900 degrees per second, and then it stays there. Can you see that the rates control the speed that the quad will try to rotate? And given enough time, the quad will get to that rate. But a heavier quad accelerates slower to the target rate. So now let's do another example. Let's say you're going to do a full roll, just a single roll, instead of just holding it full to the right and spinning. You push to the right, the small quad accelerates quickly, and it goes zoop and stops. The big heavy quad accelerates slowly, and it goes zoop. So both of them hit 900 degrees per second, but the little quad got there faster. And as a result, a small quad with the same rates will flip and roll faster than a heavy quad with the same rates. But they are targeting the same rate, and that's my point. So what's the fix for that? The fix for that is not to turn up your rates. This is a mistake that a lot of people make. The fix to that is to fix the PIDs to cause the quad to accelerate faster to hit its angular rate. Your target angular rate is still 900 degrees per second. You just want the heavy quad to get there faster. And you do that by raising P gain and or raising feed forward. Yeah, so that's the takeaway. So PIDs can change the feel of rates. When you go to a quad with like lower feed forward, it will feel like the rates are slower because the quad accelerates slower when you do a flip or a roll, but not when you're just normally flying around. Short Circuits, thanks for a $5 super chat. What frames are out there with 3 stack places in the frame? I can only find the Mr. Croc, the Glide, and the Star-Lord. Any others? Yeah, the FPV Cycle Glide is one that I know of. What about the Rotorite CL1? Does it have a front 20 millimeter? Yeah, it does not seem to. Yeah, Star-Lord he mentioned. What frames out there have a back and a front 20 millimeter mounting stack? Let's see. Simon, thank you for $5 New Zealand dollars. I fly 5-inch and I'm just getting into the 7-inch mid-range, 2 kilometers or so. I fly mainly parks, beaches, and forest areas, and I want to go digital. Any advice? Yes, go digital. It's amazing. Not sure what advice you want there. What's a long flight time considered for 7-inch quads? Mavic Havoc. Mavic Havoc, personally, I think that on a 7-inch quad, I would expect to get 6 or 7 minutes of hard freestyling. And I think it's easy to get into the 12 to 15 minute range without too much trouble and work your way up to maybe 18, 20 minutes, maybe more. I want to go back. There was the question earlier in the stream. There was a super chat about when Tommy Tibahia was going to release his sub 255-inch frame. I just want to let you know I didn't forget, but he hasn't gotten back to me. So. Okay. What graphics card am I using? Asks GTX 1660 6 gig. Well, GTX 1660, I'm glad to tell you that in my laptop, which is it's the last model year of the Dell XPS, I have a GTX 1660. In this computer, it's a 1080 Ti, which was really good when I got it. I was like, I'm a professional YouTuber and a streamer. I need to have the best. When I play a simulator, I need to know that the simulator's performance is maximized so that I can judge. And I need to be able to stream and play simulator at the same time. So I will buy a very expensive gaming computer for work. Only the best for me. Well, okay, it's an i7 processor, not an i9. Okay. I will get a 1080 Ti. And then the 2000 series came out, and I was like, crap. Yeah, 1080 Ti is still pretty good. And then the 3000 series came out, and I was like, crap. 1080 Ti is still pretty good. Not the best. 1080 Ti is still a banger card. Thank you, Josh. As long as you're not doing, I'll tell you what, any of you chumps who bought the 2000 series cards, you're the real suckers. Let me tell you, not me. Not me, who spent $800, no joke, on a 1080 Ti at the height of the Bitcoin mining bubble. No joke. I spent $800 on that 1080 Ti at the worst possible time. Yeah, but you guys who bought the 2000 series are the real chumps. That was a trash release. As long as you don't need to do ray tracing. I just want a 3060 Ti. I'm sorry, if you bought a 2080, listen. If you bought it, why did you buy a 2080? For ray tracing. It's a crap card for ray tracing. I'm sorry. Never, I mean, it's a fine card, but it's a crap card for ray tracing. Don't tell me if you bought a 2080 that you're not looking at the 3000 series and going, oh, that was the one I should have got. It didn't exist yet, but the 2080 it's a good, and they dropped their prices so much with the 3000 series. It's like they specifically designed the 3000 series release to make people who bought the 2000 series feel bad about their life. They have like 50% more performance and they cost like 20% less. And I don't know. We're talking about graphics cards. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, we're talking about graphics cards. Okay, going back to FPV. I play games on my laptop on the 1066, and it's fine. I mean, it's not great, but it gets the job done. I know. Here's the thing. You can't get the 3000 series. It doesn't exist. Yep. So I'm sticking with my 1080. I'm not going to get a 3080 because I don't want to upgrade my power supply. I would totally get a 3060 Ti for $400 though. Okay. Star Jumper, AMD is in the game, but I mean, there's just no doubt that AMD rocks for processors, but NVIDIA graphics cards just trash all over them. Ryzex RCFPV, thanks for a 420 super chat. What a strange dollar amount. I wonder why you would choose 420 as your dollar amount. Third stream super chat, another 100 plus to go for 2021. Thank you very much, Ryzex. Aaron Yunru, thank you for $5. Any clue why a Beta FPV 65S flight controller randomly erases the chip? Yep, I know the answer. There was a batch of Tiny Whoop flight controllers where if you discharge the battery too low, it completely erases the chip. Is that what's happening to you, Aaron? There isn't a fix for it, so you're kind of screwed. But just don't discharge the battery too close to 3.0 volts. That's what I would say. Let's see here. Simon Saucy says he upgraded from nothing to 1080 for $180. And I said the people who bought the 2000 series were chumps, and I paid $800 for a 1080 Ti. This was like 3 years ago. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't pay $800 for a 1080 Ti today. That would be stupid. Change Agent asks, JB, you say you're not allowed to discuss the DJI product until a later date. Are you allowed to say when that date is? No, of course not. That's part of the NDA. Ghost Branch says, NVIDIA smashes everything when it comes to ray tracing, but for plain old non-ray tracing stuff, the new AMDs beat it for a fraction of the cost. That may be true, Ghost Branch. One of the big features for NVIDIA, for me, is NVENC support. And I don't know that AMD has... Does AMD have an H.264 encoder that works as well as NVENC? Because NVENC is rocking. I'm trying to be Linus Tech Tips now. Joshua 2 cents. That's it. Why do 6S quads use lower KV motors? Let's do an FPV question. Stop talking about PC parts. Why do 6S quads use lower KV motors than 4S? Asks WCFPV. The KV of the motor is the RPM that it will produce per volt that you put across the motor. So, if you have a battery that is 33% higher voltage, to produce the same RPM, you need a KV that is equivalently lower. And that's why. A 6S quad will use a 1700 kV motor. 6S voltage times 1700 kV equals so many RPM. I don't know the number. I'm not going to do the math. 4S quad, 2400 kV, produces the same RPM is the goal. The goal is to have a similar RPM at the prop with a higher voltage, which gives better performance. By the way, you don't have to go to a lower KV. You can take a 2400 kV motor and put it on a 6S battery, and you'll get 33% more RPM. And then your ESC will explode, your prop will explode, your quad will light on fire and fall out of the air, or you'll have the time of your life. One of the two. I mean, you can do it, though. Yeah, Ghost Branch, that's the thing. I feel like NVIDIA really has their drivers sorted out, not just for gaming, but for professional applications in a way that AMD doesn't. Lord almighty, Premiere crashes a lot. And I shudder to think what would happen if I was running Premiere with AMD drivers. I don't know, but I feel like NVIDIA really has their shit together as much as you can be. And their CUDA stuff is pretty freaking hot. So, yeah. Vaz the Noob, thank you for a $5 super chat. Thank you again for your hard work. Always enjoy learning from your videos. Thank you, Vaz the Noob. Skyrez, thank you for $5 super chat. What would you consider to be the new mainstream setup for freestyle in 2021? Voltage, weight, digital analog, etc. That's a tough one, man. I mean, there's always something new coming down the pike. Like right now, people like Kebab FPV are playing with really short, wide motors for 5-inch. And maybe there's something to that, but I wouldn't call that mainstream. I feel like there was this period where quadcopter motors were going from, let's say, 2000. When I got started, you know what motor I got started on? Get ready to have your freaking mind blown. Yes, sir. This was the motor I got started on in mini quads. Oh, it doesn't exist anymore. You can't have it anymore. Sunny Sky 2203, baby. No, I can't even find it. There it is. Close. That's a Cobra. Oh, 2204. Was it a 2204? Am I misremembering? Maybe it was a 2204. I swear it was a 2203. This is not the exact motor. This is an airplane motor. But I got started on a 2203, and slowly over time, motors got bigger. Well, not that slowly. Over the course of a couple years, motors went 2203, 2204, 2205, 2206, and then we settled on 2306, 2207. Let me show you something. Yeah. This, oh, that's a good look. No, stop, Joshua. That's not good. I made a video about the Emax 2306 2750 kV motor. And this was the first mass-produced 2306 motor that I came across. I don't know for sure that it was the first in existence, but it was the first quadcopter motor in the 2306 size that really jumped out to me. And I said to myself, what is the point of a motor this big? This motor is so much bigger than a 2206. And now that's our standard motor. Now here's why I told that whole long story. We see people playing a little bit with larger motors, 2407 and 2208, in the 5-inch class, but not much more than that. In the 5-inch class, you seldom see people going much bigger than that. And a whole lot of people have gone back down to 2306, maybe 2306.5. So as much as I hate to say it, 2306 seems to be the go-to motor for 5-inch freestyle today, and maybe racing. And we seem like we kind of worked up to it, overshot, and then dialed back down, and now we're just sitting there. Yeah. So probably 2306, pick a KV. 4S versus 6S. So I have this Xylo beginner build kit, and it's available in both a 4S and a 6S version. And I really thought a whole lot of people would be going with 6S, even though it's targeted at beginners. I really thought that a lot of beginners today would be using 6S. So many people seem to be switching to 6S. But it's like 1/3, 2/3, 4S being the majority. Now, does that mean that beginners tend to use 4S, but then shift to 6S later? Maybe so. But I think that 4S is way more popular than people would guess that it was. So I would have to say 4S, at least for beginners. For intermediate or experienced, 6S, no question. And then as far as digital and analog goes, that's a big divide. There are a lot of people who have gone digital, gone to DJI and never looked back. And there's a lot of people who are still on analog. So I don't think there's a clear distinction there. So, Mr. D. Chambers, what about Nerk's Banggood motors, 2507? I'm not convinced. And if somebody like Kebab FPV, sorry, Paul, sorry, Nerkala. If somebody like Kebab FPV comes along and tells me I am wrong, I will have to re-examine my life. I'm not convinced for 5-inch that big motors make sense anymore. And I say this as a guy who wanted a 2407 motor so much that when I couldn't get the one I wanted, I had Get FPV make me one. But think about the logic there. The logic was that the biggest problem that I needed to solve was prop wash handling. And that in order to solve prop wash handling, I needed a large high torque motor. That's not true anymore. RPM filtering and other improvements in the PID loop can give near perfect flight on a 2207 motor. So then what's the argument for the bigger motors? Well, Kebab says they're so responsive. Oh, you get so much power at the top end. Crap, didn't I just say that if Kebab argued for bigger motors, I'd have to re-examine my life? And now I'm about to disagree with him. Oh, well. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Because you add so much weight. You add 3 or 4 grams of motor, perhaps, compared to a 2306. To go up to a 2208 or a 2407, or God forbid, a 2508 or 2507, you're easily adding 10 to 15 grams over the whole weight of the quad. And that's, if that was it, maybe. But 10 or 15 grams, that's a big chunk that you could be saving by going to lighter motors. And I'm not sure it's worth it. That's my opinion. I'm not convinced that there's a point to motors. I feel like 2306.5 or maybe 2207.5. I'm not convinced that the bigger motors make the weight worth it on 5-inch. That's my theory. Mike Bergman says, I'm rocking the Kebab 30mm motors on my 1.2 kilogram 7-inch, and it absolutely screams. Absolutely. You're going up to 6-inch or maybe 7, or definitely 7-inch. Now you're at a point where the torque demand of the prop is so heavy that it requires so much torque that you need a larger stator motor, or you're going to have terrible inefficiency. A 2408 motor is going to be so much more efficient on a 7-inch prop than like a 2206. 2306. You can fly a 7-inch prop on a 2306, but you're going to get much shorter flight times. Skyrez, thank you for a $2 super chat. He says, thanks for the in-depth response. You're number one. That's one of my, it's an in-depth response because it's a topic I've been thinking about a lot lately. Because I have a 2407 motor and a 2208 motor, and they are big stator motors. And as I got into thinking about my upcoming new freestyle build, I thought, do I want to go with these motors? I mean, sure I do. They're my motors. But I thought, how can I be arguing that I want a lighter weight build and then put a 2208 motor on there if I don't actually think a 2208 motor is going to give a performance advantage? Because I've been flying this stupid iFlight Sedora with its stupid 2207 motors, and it flies great, and it has no prop wash. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I don't need 2208 motors anymore. Anyway. There you go. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to rant about that. Mike B. Miller. B. Miller. Thanks for $1. Thanks for $2. Ask Ciati FPV, what's a good 5-inch sub 250? Mike, there is no good 5-inch sub 250 unless Tommy Tibahia says that he made one, in which case I will give him a fair chance. Let's see if he's answered me. Nope, he hasn't answered me. I don't think that it's possible to make a sub 250 5-inch that has durability that makes it worth flying. I would rather just have a sub 250 4-inch. It will fly great. It won't fly quite as good as a 5-inch, but it will actually survive in a crash, and it'll just be 1,000 times better. So I don't think that there's a good sub 250 5-inch. I just feel like that's too much. Let's see. Have I missed? King Sloth, thanks for 10 Norwegian kroner. Have I missed any? Ilya Makarov, thank you for £5. GoPro removed the ability to change the ProTune settings from the app. How can we force them to bring it back? Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to rant about this, but I will mention it. I mentioned it on yesterday's live stream, and I ranted about it for a while. Google Play. GoPro. So GoPro took ProTune out of their app. The only way to adjust the ProTune settings on a GoPro now is by touching the menu on the back screen, which if you have a session, screw you, it doesn't have a screen. You can't use ProTune anymore. Yep, I'm not exaggerating. There are two ways to work around this. There's one real way to work around this. It's an app called BLE Remote. This app is GoPro BLE Remote is my new best friend. It uses Bluetooth to adjust the settings in the app. And you can adjust the ProTune settings that way, but you can't see the screen to see the results, so it's not that freaking great. How do I know what freaking white balance I want if I can't see the damn screen? Okay, I'm ranting. I said I wasn't going to do that. So GoPro BLE Remote, if you want this functionality back, it costs 10 freaking bucks, but it's the only way. But what can we do about it? This is what you should do about it. Oh, thank you. This is what you should do about it. Go to the App Store and leave them a 1-star review and complain about it. That's my opinion. Go leave them a 1-star review and tell them what they did wrong and what you want them to do about it. That's what you should do. C Young 300 says the BLE remote guy also has a tools app that shows a preview. Yeah, C Young, what you need to do, you need to be able to see the preview and adjust the settings in real time so that you can see the results of your changes. Anyway. Okay. Toxic FPV, thanks for $2. The TBS Source 1 has 3 mounts. Earlier, somebody was looking for a frame with a front and a rear 20mm mount. The Source 1 has it. Okay. Let's see here. I think I'm nearly caught up. Kimmy Yimmel, thanks for $5 super chat. I made a list of all the FPV goggles I could find. Let me know if I missed something. Thank you for that. Shun Smith, thanks for a $5 remote. A $5 super chat. Do you have an analog module you recommend for the DJI goggles? The best analog setup for the DJI goggles, in my opinion, is the BDI Digidapter. The BDI Digidapter. And the TBS Fusion. Now, I say the TBS Fusion, and the only reason I say that, the rapid fire is very good, but look how dumb the rapid fire looks in the BDI Digidapter. Look how freaking dumb that looks. Sorry. Just looks dumb. Whereas, oh, stop. Stop. My freaking Stream Deck is effed up again. I blame you. Whatever your name was. So, like, here's what the Fusion looks like. Oof. Wow. Got a really contrasty color grade there. Look at that. I had not fixed my color grades. I will stay on topic. So, if I got a picture of it, like, come on. Can I see it? Yeah, no, not that. Oh, so contrasty. There we go. You can kind of see it there. Doesn't that look badass? Doesn't that look like just the black cover of the Fusion looks better? So you should get the BDI Digidapter and the TBS Fusion. That's what I recommend. Now, the downside of that is you will not be able to use, like, the iFlight crystal antenna, which replaces the front plate. But that is a really, really good setup. Ghost Branch, you're 100% right. Ghost Branch FPV in the Discord says that's bad news for the naked GoPro Cinewhoop folks. Bingo. If you have a naked GoPro and you don't have a screen on it, you can no longer use ProTune. F you. Just such a bad. Oh. Big Herkman says you can use the app to watch the feed and use the GoPro Smart Remote to change the settings. That would work, but I just hate it so much. Maybe you could use the GoPro app to watch the feed and the BLE app to change the settings. If you could somehow run both of those apps at the same time, I don't know. Anyway, there's no reason for them to do it. I hate it. I'm so mad at them. Vampire 4997 reminds us that we can download the older version of the app and just don't update it. That is true. On Android. I'm not sure you can do that on iOS. Maybe if you unlocked it, if you jailbroke it. Josh, thank you for a $5 super chat. That's my name. Pilots like Cricket, Oh My God, Erodio, Kebab, and Bachgrinder are switching to Emuflight. I love it. What are your thoughts? I don't know. I mean, I guess what you want me to say is, oh, it's amazing. I'm also switching. I'm impressed with what the Emuflight guys are doing. At the same time, I am the kind of person who often takes a long time to switch to new things. That's just, you know, how I am. I am impressed with what the guys are doing. I'm maybe give it a try and see how it flies. I wish that the work that the Emuflight guys were doing was getting a little more respect among the Betaflight devs. I think that the Betaflight devs, I think that the smell of Butterflight and Heliospring has rubbed off on Emuflight. And I don't know all the emails that have gone back and forth, but it feels to me like the Emuflight devs are, for the most part, not starting shit and being pretty cool compared to the Heliospring and the Butterflight devs, who were very antagonistic. Oh, the Betaflight guys were mean to us too. Okay, fine. Fine. And I have seen some examples where Emuflight tried to... Some Emuflight code has been accepted into Betaflight. Other cases where Emuflight had something to offer and was not accepted. And I have seen one message from a Betaflight dev basically saying we should make it harder for Emuflight to use our code, which really rubbed me the wrong way. Because the Betaflight devs are under no obligation to make it easier for someone else to use their code. They donate their time for free. Who cares? But the nature of open source is that other people will fork your code and use your code. And if you are intentionally obfuscating your code in such a way as to make it harder for another open source project to use it, that's just petty. That is petty. It is small, petty, and contrary to the spirit of open source. And it certainly seemed like that was what the message I saw was indicating that this person wanted to do. Because they had some kind of a chip on their shoulder about Emuflight or Kevin Plaisir. I don't know what the chip was, whether they think that he shit-talked them, or whether they just disagree and they're like, that's not a scientific approach, the Kalman filters don't exist, they don't work, and these guys are dumb and we don't like them. Like, the ability to have your differences with somebody and yet not want to destroy them ultimately, I don't know, that seems to be missing from our society. It rubbed me the wrong way. So, I don't fly Emuflight on my main quads. There are many things that go into my decision about what stuff to put on my quads. One of them is just sheer laziness. Just the amount of time it would take to start working on something else and the mental energy to shift gears. Like, if you asked me to make a Betaflight tutorial on how to set up a new quad, I could just sit down and do it in my sleep. And so every time I go to set up a new quad, I can just make that tutorial and I know the lines. And that doesn't mean that I should do that forever, right? But it does mean that there is a bigger cost to shifting to something new than just, okay, let's do it. It's going to affect lots of builds going down. That's another reason. Anyway, the other thing about it is that Emuflight is derived from and based on Betaflight. And if the Betaflight devs in some way were to, and it's a small project, and it doesn't have very many developers, and it doesn't have a long history. So it's hard to commit to it too hard and say, yeah, we're going to go this. If then, if Kevin Plaisir gets hit by a bus, God forbid, and the project dies, then what? Then everybody's just screwed. Like, remember Heliospring? And people were like, Heliospring's so good. And then they got sued by Flight 1, and then they stopped existing. And anybody who was using Heliospring hardware was just screwed. Oops. Well, good thing I didn't commit all 20 of my quads over to Heliospring and do a bunch of tutorials about Heliospring. So, I mean, I respect what they're doing, and I'm happy that they're making good products that fly good for people. There's a lot of decisions that go into whether I'm going to just switch to it other than just whether it flies good. Okay, that was probably more of an answer than you wanted, but I feel for them. I respect what they're doing. I think they seem Kevin Plaisir, Quick Flash, the developer, seems very sincere in his desire to implement cool stuff. I respect that. I don't think he's always right about like some of the decisions he makes, But I don't think he's being a dick about it. And you don't have to be right all the time to be respected for what you're doing. Anyway. Let's see what comments people had while I was talking. I should probably try it again. I bet it flies pretty good. Thank you, Josh. Josh says that was exactly the kind of commentary I was looking for. Thank you. I would say one more thing. If you are interested in trying Emuflight, you should totally do it. Because as an individual, you have no incentive to fly anything except what flies great for you. So if you try it out and it flies great, more power to you. There's just more going into it with me than just the one thing. But I like what they're doing, and I like them, and I'm glad they're here. Axel Peterson says, I just got an FPV wing and I want an OSD. What's the best way to do that? Axel, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to put a flight controller into the wing. You don't even have to let the flight controller control the servos, although you can. If you just want a basic flying wing with an OSD, use your same receiver, run all the servos to the receiver, but run the camera and the video transmitter through the flight controller, and then you're going to have an OSD, but you'll still just be flying the same wing you always have. Here's what happens when I talk for 20 minutes about Emuflight. Here's my, oops. Oh, you can't see that. Oh. Okay, I get it. Yeah, Synthetic says, Kebab is a smart guy, and even he has said he doesn't like the latest versions of Betaflight. He prefers Emuflight. I got to tell you, I asked Kebab, I said, hey, Kebab, this Kebab sent me a baby tooth to fly, and it had RPM filtering turned on, and the number of magnets was set wrong. It was set to 14 magnets, but they were 12 magnet motors. And I said, did you know you need to change this? And he was like, yeah, oh yeah, no, I always fix that. Oops, I missed that this time. And then he went on Facebook and he was saying, yeah, the RPM filters don't work. And I was like, did you set the number of magnets right? And he was like, yeah, I totally did. And I was like, are you sure? Because, like, you're the only person I know who says that RPM filtering makes your quad fly worse. And then you sent me a quad and the number of magnets wasn't set right, so the RPM filtering wasn't working. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say for sure. Those are just some things that I observed. He swore. He said, no, I had it set right. Okay. It wasn't right on my baby tooth though. I'm not trying to call him out, Matt TV. I mean, I would not hold back because out of the risk of hurting somebody's feelings much. But I do, I have a lot of respect for Kebab, and I take pride in the Kebab is a really nice guy. Kebab is, there are so many people in this hobby, including me, who in some ways are spoiling for a fight and are ready to make enemies and take sides. And you guys don't always see that because not all of that goes down in public, although some of it does. Kebab really seems like a person who has no interest in being enemies with anybody. And sometimes when you say that, it means that the person is a weak person and is just, they're like passive. I don't get that vibe from him. He just seems like he is sincerely friendly with people and yet is still like really a great sense of himself and stuff. So respect for Kebab. What does an RPM filter actually do, says Alex Klein? The RPM filter targets the frequency of the prop by reading the motor RPM directly from the ESC and then creating a notch filter that targets that exact frequency as the motor RPM changes. Tommy Tabahia still has not got back to me about the release of his sub 250 frame. I think you're out of luck there. Exactly. Meekness is not weakness. I mean, weakness can result in meekness. But, yeah. There's also people out there who say, man, I'm friends with everybody. And it just means that they don't have maybe the guts to take a stand when it's necessary. I mean, there's also people out there who will just pick a fight for no reason. So, I mean, it goes both ways. But Kebab seems to not have any enemies. I can think of one person who might not like him. For the most part, though, he seems to not have any enemies and just wants to talk shop. He just wants to talk motors. He just wants to talk motors and stuff. MK, thanks for $4.99 in the super chat. Betaflight won't last forever. I'm excited to see what features DJI brings in their FPV drone. You can't deny how the NASA FC changed the game. MK, I always said if DJI wanted to develop an acro racing flight controller, they would, and it would be the best one you'd ever seen. It would be amazing. I was worried when I heard that the DJI goggles were going to come into existence, which was months before they actually came out. I was worried that it meant that DJI would release a custom flight controller and the goggles would only work with their flight controller, like a NASA Acro. And if DJI had done that, they would have taken a massive bite out of the open source hobby, RC market. Because every single person you know who flies DJI goggles now would be flying the DJI NASA Acro flight controller that turned out not to exist. The fact that DJI chose to make their goggles compatible with Betaflight flight controllers and essentially allow something like Betaflight to continue to exist or to continue to be as popular as it is, I think is it's either a very nice thing that they did or a very strategic thing. But it was the first sign for me that they did not intend to just wipe FPV off the map as we know it. Matt TV, thanks for $5. Thank you for $5 super chat. Max Plastic, GoPro has never said why they took this out. They've said, oh, well, if you don't like it, you can get Pro Tune this other way. They never said why. Synthetic in the Discord. Thank you for nothing. I was about to say thanks for a super chat. Thanks for nothing, Synthetic. No, Synthetic is a patron, like everybody in my Discord. And if you want to join my Discord server, there's a link down below where you can join my Patreon. Let me ask you, tell me the truth. Do you think I'm worth $2 a month? You don't? Wow. I mean, sure, okay. I mean, hey, that's your money. You keep it. I mean, if you do think I'm worth $2 a month and you're not a patron, they're not going to come for free. No, I'm just Synthetic says, I kind of feel like I should be paying more. No, stop it. I mean, I'm doing a bit where I kind of guilt trip you into joining my Patreon, but if someone actually felt guilty, I would feel horrible. So please don't do that. I take it back. You can join my Patreon for as little as $2 a month or more if you feel like I've earned it, and if you can afford it. These are some crazy times right now, and if you look at your wallet and you go, you know what, I need that $2, keep it with my blessing. Take care of your family, take care of yourself. But if you do join the Discord, or join the Patreon, you can join my Discord server. It's kind of cool. His question. What was his question? He says, I have a quad that flies excellent, except just a little bit of prop wash coming out of dives or just dropping down on its prop wash. Where should I start to look? I am using RPM filtering with bidirectional D-shot and our UAV Tech's suggested preset for a 5-inch. I will say that UAV Tech's preset for a 5-inch is too aggressive for some 5 inches. I would start tuning prop wash by moving the filter slider to the right. If you can get your filter slider to at least 1.5, maybe 2.0 without hot motors or other signs of a flyaway, then that's a good start to getting rid of prop wash. The next thing to do, in my opinion, is to start raising the D gain. But if your filter slider is not at least at 1.5, then that's where I would start. Synthetic, please don't apologize. Please, please, please don't actually seem like you feel guilty. It was just a bit. Just a silly little bit to try and, plug my Patreon, but I would hate to have actually made you feel guilty. You're at 1.7. That's pretty good. I mean, you're still getting prop wash. The next thing I think that Mark Spatz, I think he's in the chat. I think that Mark Spatz's UAV Tech's preset is going to have excessive P gain for some people. You could try turning the P gain down a little bit and the D gain up a little bit. That's what I would say next. Ampere Aerial Systems, thanks for a $5 super chat. Love the content. Just wanted to give a little back. Thank you, Ampere. Thanks for. Drone Racer says, use the links in the description is all I can afford. You might be surprised how much you're using affiliate links actually matters. A typical affiliate rate is between 3 and 6%. That's just across the board. There are some industries with massive margins where affiliates can get much higher rates, but for typical retail, affiliate rate is between 3 and 5%. And that means if you're a $2 a month patron, well, you could do the math as to how much you have to buy from an affiliate to basically give me $2 a month. So don't apologize for using affiliate links. That actually could be putting way more money in my pocket, depending on how much you spend every month. Yeah, Ciati, I agree. Pour on the D-gain. UAV Tech, I gotta say, if he's moving the P and the D gain slider up, then he's not changing the PD ratio. So that's not going to make his prop wash better, is it? He needs to change the PD ratio, I would think, but you know a lot more about tuning than I do, so I should probably just shut up and listen. Sebastian Gramano says, is it really possible to remove all prop wash? Maybe not. Maybe not. It's not possible in every case. Shize9 and www.fpvknowitall.com/support-me. That's where all my affiliate links are. They're right there. Hey, guess what? We're 3 minutes to the end of my stream. Holy cow, how did that happen? I'm going to go blow my nose and have another beer. And Aaron Ciati is going to come onto the stream. Aaron is going to he's going to start his own stream over on his own channel. Ciati, you got a link there, my friend? If you guys are enjoying listening to the stream and you would like to hear Ciati talk about whatever he's talking about. Moon Goat Monday. He's putting the link there. Shize9, there is no Amazon link on my website because Amazon terms of service don't allow it. Amazon has really strict terms of service about their affiliate links. Basically, you can only use an Amazon affiliate link specifically linked to a product that you are talking about. And you're not allowed to say, you cannot say things like, support me by using my Amazon affiliate link. Nope, not allowed. Like specifically, that's prohibited. Technically, I just did that, but it was just an example. You have to say, here is this great product. Wouldn't you like to buy it? The link's below. And then not even mention Amazon. But the link is there. So that's why it's not on my website. They told me, I got an email and they were like, hey, you're in violation of the terms of service. And I was like, oops, sorry. Please don't kick me out of your affiliate program. So, all right, folks, 2 minutes to the end of the stream. Ciati will be building his Moon Goat frame. I will see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern time for the news with It's Blunty. Sergey FPV, can you make another Discord server? Nah, just the one's fine, I think. Join the Patreon, my friend. That's where all the good stuff is. Or just email me. I'll answer your question even if you're not a patron, because that's how I roll. I'm like a busker. I play the music. You walk by on the street. If you like the music, you throw $1 in my hat. That's how it works. Mike Bergman says it sounds like censorship. Mike, it's a private contract with a private company who pays me money. It's not censorship. They have terms of service. If I don't like it, I can just not get paid by them. It's not censorship. It's just a contract between two entities who are doing business together, one of whom is paying the other a lot of money. So they get to dictate. They don't want people doing stuff like spamming and making them look bad. That's why they have terms of service. Thank you folks in the Discord as well. Thank you guys. And thank you to everybody who left super chats. I'm going to get off the air and I'm going to let Ciati jump on. Sergey FPV, it's joshuabardwell@gmail.com. Drop me an email. I'll do my best to help you. Happy